A former NFL receiver passionately defended Lamar Jackson, and he was right. We talk about that and so much more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire, and we are here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's show, we have another jam-packed episode. Again, we are in football month officially. I've been building it up. September is here. Happy September. And we are going to see this Ravens team play in less than a week. So today we're going to be diving into a lot. First of all, in the first segment, a former NFL wide receiver, he passionately defended Lamar Jackson. Obviously, a lot already being made about Lamar Jackson and the playoff lack of success. So we'll dive into what this NFL wide receiver said, or former NFL wide receiver said, and why I believe he is correct in what he said. Then in the second part of the show, I'm going to give my Ravens official predictions for the season. And in the final part of the show, we're going to get to how Baltimore kind of got here and some of the moves that I really think shaped this roster, had some positive effects on how the rest of the roster was built. It's always kind of cool to me to go back and look at the journey of how teams get to where they are. And I think for this Ravens roster, which is arguably the best in team history, it's cool to kind of look back on that. So I want to thank everybody for being here today on Locked On Ravens and making Locked On Ravens both a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. And thank you to all the everydayers, the first-time listeners. If it's somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. And today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by Gametime. And for Gametime, you can download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Now, we know that Chad Ochocinco, or Chad Johnson, formerly known as Chad Ochocinco, he's a guy that played against the Ravens for many, many years out in Cincinnati. But when it comes to Lamar Jackson, he has been a defender of Lamar. Now, he obviously has a show that he does with former Ravens tight end and former Broncos tight end Shannon Sharpe called Nightcap. And those two, a couple days ago, were talking about the Kyle Hamilton $100 million contract, the extension, and, kind of talking about the ins and outs, and kind of the conversation shifted to Lamar Jackson and for Lamar, how his contract situation in general, for them, they were kind of just like, yeah, with the representation he has in terms of his and they talked about his mom a lot during this process. I know that situation is kind of like, well, how involved is his mom, that whole thing. But they were kind of like, yeah, once you get to in season, like they wouldn't be shocked if it kind of was tabled in the whole 9 yards there. But, the $75 million cap hit thing, I mean, Shannon Sharpe said, he's not going into next season with a $75 million contract or cap hit, essentially, which I think is true. But Chad Ochocinco, or Chad Johnson, or Ocho, he said, Lamar just wants to play football, his eyes on the prize, his focus is on doing what he needs to do, dominating the AFC North, and get ourselves one in the playoffs, get over that hump, and have a chance at the Lombardi. So, and that's the big thing for Lamar. We know that that's the conversation. Again, I think it's more of a team thing than it is a Lamar thing, but Lamar obviously is a part of the team. And then Shannon Sharpe was going to go into another point and said, you got a two-time MVP. And then Chad Ochocinco goes, no. And Shannon Sharpe kind of laughs and says, you can't do that. You got to give him what he's got. And Ocho goes, I don't care what the numbers say. He's a three-time MVP. Now, they took one of those MVPs from him based off of one of the best statistical seasons from a quarterback in the history of the game. I love Josh Allen, but last year's MVP was a damn here. That's what it was. Which, pretty strong words from Ocho there on the award. And again, I don't want to dive into like the whole MVP race in general. Like, that's a last year thing. It's done. This is a new season. Like, that's something I don't want to dwell on, and I'm not going to. But to me, I think one, Lamar should be recognized for his season last year. But two, I just think it's so cool how we've seen the progression of Lamar over the years, where the big conversation point from last season with Lamar just specifically was, man, he had a great MVP season in 2023. how can he like respond from that? How can he show the world, like, is there another gear for Lamar? And we saw that, yes, there was another gear for Lamar. So my question to Lamar, or just about Lamar in general here, is, well, is there another gear? Is there something we haven't still seen? And the crazy part is, like, everybody, or not everybody, but some people were saying, well, no, that Lamar season in 2023 was incredible. Like, there's no way. And then boom, we saw Lamar Jackson go into his thing. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson is going to go out there. Look, he had 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions last season. Like, that is absolutely unbelievable. I'm not saying Lamar's going to go out there and throw 50 touchdowns this year. But like I said in 2019, the efficiency, some of the other stuff, like, he can continue to get better in a lot of different categories. And honestly, that can just be a lot of little things too. Maybe even like marginal things aren't that big of a deal that Lamar can just get a little bit better at or do so. Because again, we know Lamar's a great quarterback, one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. I mean, I personally think Lamar's the best in the league right now. I think he was the best quarterback in football last season. I mean, Ocho said one of the best statistical seasons we have seen at that position, which is 100% correct. But there is still another gear, in my opinion, there, which is a super, super scary thing. Now, then they got into a conversation, and Shannon Sharp ended up saying, quote, "We have yet to see Lamar Jackson playing a big-time game come postseason like the Lamar Jackson we thought should have won MVP. If that guy showed up, they're going to the Super Bowl. We're not asking Lamar Jackson to do anything we haven't seen from him before. We know what he's capable of. We just need him to be that person come playoff time." And that's when he got into the whole thing about Lamar and his contract and $75 million cap hit and whatnot next season. I don't agree with this from Shannon because, again, this is kind of the people – they overcorrect on the whole Lamar playoff thing too hard. Has Lamar Jackson been like flawless in the postseason? No. Overall, based off the player we know Lamar Jackson is, he has been underwhelming in a lot of spots in the postseason. Right? It's a fact. That's fine. But people overcorrect on it, I think, and say, well, he's never had a good playoff game. Like they talk about him almost like he hasn't even won a playoff game, and what Shannon said there, like, oh, we have yet to see Lamar playing a big time game come postseason like Lamar Jackson we thought should have won the MVP. I mean, did we forget the fact? And no, it wasn't against the Chiefs. It wasn't against the Bills, but in Houston in 2023 in that divisional round, he had 4 touchdowns in that game. He didn't throw for like 350 yards. He only threw for 152 yards, but Ravens won that game 34-10. Like, they didn't need him to go crazy in that game. Even in the 2019 game where they lost to Tennessee in the divisional round, they were 14-2. That was super disappointing. I mean, yes, he had the 2 interceptions. One of those was Mark Andrews was injured and couldn't jump for the ball. But Lamar had over 500 total yards in that game. Lamar and Marcus Peters, I remember Peters had a good game in that one. Those were some of the only players to show up for the Ravens in that game. And a lot of that was kind of like 2023 when the Ravens wouldn't run the ball. Pittsburgh. I mean, he beat Pittsburgh in the wild card round last season with 2 touchdowns. They won 28-14. It felt a lot more like a blowout than that score really indicated there. Like, Lamar has had good playoff games, but I think, again, people look at the box score and like, oh, Lamar threw for only 175 passing yards. Wow, that's not that impressive. That's not how it works. I mean, to me, I think that it's not fair to Lamar to say that he has never showed up in a playoff game. Like, again, he has to get it done when it matters. We know that. We understand that. I'm not saying that's still not true. But, there's a way to have that conversation, in my opinion, while also acknowledging, hey, Lamar has, he has won 3 playoff games. Now, he hasn't achieved what he has hoped to, and that is winning a Super Bowl or even getting to a Super Bowl. And hopefully he will be able to fix that this season. But with the expectations that Lamar has on him on a year-to-year basis and the quarterback stuff, the whole 9 yards, I want to see the whole conversation. Because, look, let's be honest, we're going to hear a lot about Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, and it's a lose-lose for him. It's a lose-lose for the Ravens in terms of, like, if they win regular season games this year, it doesn't matter to the playoffs. And if they lose games, it's like, oh, well, are they going to be able to make the playoffs? Are they going to be able to, like, if they start slow again, 0-2, and they should not. But if that happens again, you're going to have those loud conversations. There will be loud conversations about Lamar Jackson throughout the season. That to me is a lose-lose situation because, again, if they win games, people are just going to say, well, do it in the playoffs, do it in the playoffs, do it in the playoffs. If they start losing games or they lose a game they're supposed to win, and sometimes that happens with the Ravens, we know, then those conversations around the Ravens and Lamar just grow even louder. That to me is probably what's going to happen. We got to brace for it. We got to be ready for it. But, I think that there are ways to have conversations about Lamar Jackson that say, hey, he has to be better in some areas, has to be better in certain moments, while also saying, okay, but you know what? In some of these other games, he has been able to step up to the plate, but obviously you want to see more in other certain spots. I think there's a good way to have a conversation like that instead of just overreacting to one side of it. So, coming with the second part of the show, we're going to go with official predictions for the Ravens. It's week 1 week. We got football coming up in less than a week, so we're going to get into predictions for the team. Stay tuned, a lot coming up on the show. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. And I pulled up Gametime, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. And for me, the app has made everything super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying, and the zone deals are great. You pick the section, and Gametime picks the seats, and you save big. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. You can do player props, you can build a same-game parlay, or you can even jump into the action live as it all unfolds. And it makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. And it's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. And over on FanDuel, you want to look at those Super Bowl odds right now. The Ravens and Eagles are tied at plus 700, and that's exciting for the Ravens. Obviously, they're going to be in the thick of it this season. And if you want to get in on that action over on FanDuel, the Ravens, that plus 700 is looking pretty good to me, in my opinion, over there. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Back here on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher still here with you on this Monday in September. It's officially football month. Football returns, and we're going to have a great season. We're going to have an incredible year here on Locked On Ravens. Want to thank everybody for being here today again. We're a 5-day-a-week Ravens podcast, so Monday through Friday, we bring you that daily Ravens coverage. Plus, on the weekends, we sometimes have bonus episodes. Had a really, funnier bonus episode this weekend where we talked about Patrick Queen and Sean Elliott rehashing some Baltimore drama, which I never thought we'd have to talk about again. So we have that. We obviously go live after every single Ravens game, every single piece of Ravens big news. We have Locked On Ravens watch-alongs. We also have the Locked On Ravens squad show with myself, Sam Njoku, and former Ravens receiver Kadri Ismail. And we did some bold predictions on our last one. That's Mondays and Thursdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time for that. Of course, the regular show, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern time again. But we did a lot of bold predictions. They got pretty bold. I'm just going to say it. They got pretty bold. So if you want to go check that out, highly recommend you do so. We always have a good time over on the Locked On Ravens squad show. We have a great time over here on Locked On Ravens as well. But I want to get into my Ravens official predictions. I feel like obviously kicking off the week, kicking off September, kicking off the season. I think it's time. I was actually debating whether to do it like today or the end of the week, but I figured, you know what, we've waited long enough. I've waited long enough to do this, so we might as well start it off now. Now, there are a couple different ways we can do this, and I guess we'll do them all. First, we'll just go through the schedule again. I gave early schedule predictions and whatnot, but now that we kind of know how the roster looks and, honestly, how we know a lot of these rosters look now, we didn't really have a clear enough picture couple months ago when that schedule was released, and man, it feels like forever ago since that thing was released. I think we can give better predictions now than we could when it was first, well, when we first got all those games. So I think to me, that Bills game is going to be one where everybody's super amped up for it. We saw last season the Ravens lost in kind of the same, like not exactly the same, but somewhat same circumstances. The Chiefs by a toe. I think Baltimore goes to Buffalo, and I think they win that game. I do. I don't expect it to look as dominant as the regular season game from last season for Baltimore, but I also think that the Bills defense versus that Ravens offense, I still think, like we talked about, the Bills run defense was not great last season, and maybe they're going to be a little better this year, but I don't think enough to stop Derrick Henry and company. I'm going to give the Ravens that win. I'm also going to say they beat the Browns at home in week 2. I have a feeling that they're going to win that game. I know that people will probably like, yeah, Kevin, it's the Browns. What are you talking about? But we saw last year in week 2, that Raiders game, we were having that same conversation, and then they ended up losing that game to drop to 0-2. So I'm going to predict the opposite this season, 2-0 start for the Ravens. I'm going to go 3-0 for them with Detroit. The Ravens in primetime games, particularly at home, very good under John Harbaugh. So I'm going to say they get that win, and I'm going to say they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. That's something they've been trying to do for a while here. The Chiefs have been that team. It's been their kryptonite, Mahomes and whatnot. The Ravens, they pick up a win there, get some confidence. I'm going to say, for me, the Texans are a win. I'm not super high on the Texans this season. I know they won the AFC South last year, but the AFC South is kind of a mess right now. So, yeah, we're going to go win there. I'll say the Ravens lose the game to the Rams. The Rams are really good. They added Devontae Adams in the offseason. Like, that's going to be a hard-fought game. And maybe it does come down to like a Tylan Wallace play there. Maybe there's a coin flip play that kind of seals the deal for either team there. But, do I think the Ravens will go undefeated this season? I do not. So, of course, you got to lose a game or two here somewhere through Baltimore. Super talented roster, but that Rams team really talented as well. So I'll say they lose that. Then week 7, they regroup for the bye. I'm going to say that they beat the Bears in week 8. They beat the Dolphins in week 9. They beat the Vikings in week 10. And then they beat the Browns in week 11. I say that they beat the Jets in week 12. I'm going to say that Thursday night. See, the thing with the Thursday night game with the Bengals at home is, like, again, the Ravens really good in primetime games. Like, we know the whole thing. The Bengals, Lamar's dominated them. The Bengals offense is so good, and like we know those 3 are really good. But we also know that the Bengals defense is going to be like awful. It's going to be awful. So I think that the Ravens will sweep the Bengals. I think they'll win in week 13. I think they'll lose to Pittsburgh in week 14. And the Ravens, I just think they're going to split with Pittsburgh this season. So I'm going to say that they lose in week 14. I'm going to say that they win in week 15, win in week 16. I'll say they lose to Green Bay in Green Bay, especially like the Micah Parsons deal. Like Parsons, he didn't do a ton in that first game against the Ravens as a member of the Cowboys. I'm going to say they lose in week 17, and then I'll say that they beat the Steelers at Acrisure in week 18. So I think I had them with 13-4 there. Did I have them at 14-3? Where did I have them? I had losses to the Rams. I think I have them at 14-3. I think my prediction is 14-3. I could see them anywhere. Like 14-3 is probably best case scenario. That was like a best case scenario simulation. If we were to go kind of like worst case, maybe you throw in a loss to like the Vikings, and maybe you do lose to one of the Bills or the Chiefs. Like maybe that's it, where you finish like 12-5. I could see in the middle. Like I could see 13-4 where they like lose to the Chiefs in week 4 alongside the other 3 I mentioned, and maybe they start like 2-2. Like do they use the Detroit and Kansas City back to back? I don't know, but anywhere in that 12-5 to 14-3 range, I think that's pretty realistic for them this season. I'd be shocked if they won less than double-digit games this season. The roster is just out of this world good. I think that you have a lot of positive momentum going your way as well as the season kicks off and goes on. And if you can kind of just start rattling off early season wins, I could see that best case scenario happening. I mean, I guess I'll settle in the middle at 13-4. I guess I should have clarified earlier. We're going to do like best and worst case scenarios and going through the schedule there. And I was doing the best case one there. But I think 13-4 is pretty realistic for me. Like that's probably enough to earn them at least the top 2 seed in the AFC, if not the number 1 seed. I just, there are going to be teams fighting for that spot. Obviously, you have your big 3 with the Bills and the Ravens and the Chiefs in any order you want to put those teams in. But Baltimore, to me, I think, is in a really good spot. It's a really tough schedule, but I think the good part about that is, and this is what we were talking about last season, they're going to be battle tested this year. They're going to have to go through a lot of these, especially early, like, hey, let's figure out who we are as a team type moments. And a lot of the teams are turning. That's a really big deal. Year 3 of Todd Monken's offense, year 2 of Zach Orr's defense. You get another year under your belt there. So that, to me, like the continuity factor, like it would not shock me if they finished 14-3 this season. Like it wouldn't. I'm still going 13-4 is my official prediction, but 14-3 is not out of the realm of possibility here. So that it's really exciting to kind of go through this, look at the schedule, and say, hey, you know what? If the Ravens get to the postseason, which I'm assuming they are, I think they're going to win the division again this season. You're going to have a lot of moments throughout the year that you can look back on and be like, hey, they're ready for this. Can they actually execute is a different conversation, but they're going to have moments. And whether, look, you lose a game you're supposed to win, or you go through a couple tough moments, and every team goes through moments like that every single season. It just happens. But my hope is that they're able to go through those moments, come out on the other side, and really crank it up come playoff time. So coming up in the final part of the show, we'll dive into how Baltimore ended up just getting here. How did this roster come to be? We'll also dive into a few more predictions. So stay tuned. Plenty coming your way on the show. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. If you haven't joined the league yet, now's the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran. Creating your millionth league, Yahoo Fantasy is loaded with fun ways to compete and brand new features that make the game even better. With season kickoff on September 4th, now's the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers so many fun ways to compete. Want more ways to play? Try the brand new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated weekly until one team is left standing. Want to play instantly with friends? Try the new Draft with Friends mode. For the classics, get your crew together and go head-to-head in a private league. No crew, no problem. Join a public league, the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. This show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. And so canceling those alone saved me money every month. And I've wanted to get on the saving train. I've been really trying to work on that. And so for Monarch, it's been an absolute lifesaver in terms of helping me achieve those goals. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. Moving right along on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Ostreicher still here with you. Football is back. I mean, you feel it in the air. You feel it in the weather. We are so close. Less than a week to go before the Ravens kick off against the Bills in week number 1. Sunday night football. We'll be watching it right here live. Watch along on Locked On Ravens. We have added that on to the Locked On Ravens repertoire alongside the Locked On Ravens squad show, instant reaction shows. We do the bonus episodes, and obviously the main show Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern time. So it's been great to see this channel grow. Just hit 14,000 subscribers on the video side of things, and on the audio side of things, we continue to grow there as well. So thank you to all who make this show possible, and that obviously is you. And I can't thank everybody enough for the support. We're in store for a great season here. Hopefully, we'll be able to cap it off with a Super Bowl victory for Baltimore. But, we're going to have a lot of fun this season. I'm really excited for it. So be sure to tell a friend, tell a family member as well that we're here for them, just like we're here for you on Locked On Ravens if they want that 5-day a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage. Let's do a couple more predictions. Again, I mentioned on the squad show on Thursday, Sam and I did bold predictions. One of mine that I actually feel pretty confident in is, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but the Ravens potentially having 2,000-yard wide receivers this season. And I would say that obviously being Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, like those are two guys that I just think with another year under their belts, another leap, more chemistry with Lamar, like I think that is possible. So is it guaranteed to happen? Obviously not. Like there are a lot of different ways the season can go for those guys. But, last season, we know Zay went over 1,000 and Rashad wasn't super far behind, almost 800 yards for him. So, I think that for me, it's a bold prediction that, probably not the bold. It definitely was not the boldest we had on that show on Thursday. Really, I recommend going back because we got a little bold, got a little crazy with them. So that was a fun one. I think a big thing for me too is kind of looking at some of those players that are on the come up. Like Nate Wiggins is a guy that I think everybody's talking about heading into year 2. People predicting him to make the Pro Bowl or be an All-Pro. Like, that to me is interesting when it comes to, okay, can Nate continue to stack on to a really, really, really good rookie season? I think Roger Rosengarten's another one of those guys in contract years too. Like, I think that a Travis Jones is going to have a beast of a contract year. Isaiah Likely, when he gets healthy, beast of a contract year. Those are guys that I think for the Ravens and, even at Afe Owe, right? This is a contract year for Owe as well. And so those are players that will they price themselves out? Will they not? Out of those 3, my prediction is the Ravens probably re-sign 2 of those guys. The odd man out at this point to me, probably at Afe Owe. But it kind of makes you think about like, well, how did the Ravens get to this point? Obviously, it started a long time ago. I mean, if you want to go back to that 2018 draft and, everything that kind of happened there with Ozzy's last class as general manager and making those calls and handing the keys over to Eric DeCosta, it's been a combination of a lot of different things. And I think looking back on it's really fun because for the Ravens, we know that 43 of 53 players for the Ravens, they were drafted or signed by Baltimore as an undrafted free agent rookie. This has been like almost all homegrown, home developed talent. And it's actually kind of crazy. It's not the most in the league. Tampa, the Bucks have 44 of 53. So they have the Ravens beat by 1 player. But it just goes to show like, yeah, you have your Derrick Henrys of the world, your DeAndre Hopkins, like those veterans, Jair coming in, like those guys, they help complete the picture of what you're trying to go for. But this is just, and John Harbaugh talked about it, this is an operation. This is an operation that goes so far beyond the players on the field, goes so far beyond the coaching staff, even the high up front office members, right? It's a joint effort. You can see it on a day-to-day basis. And that is why the Ravens have been so successful year in and year out. It's not, oh, well, Baltimore built this roster up over 5 years and this is what it is and they just got good all. No, it's been years, decades of them continuing to have this process. 3 undrafted rookies making this roster when it was already so stacked. I mean, it shows you their talent evaluation, them believing in guys and giving guys shots. And I went on the radio on Friday and I talked about this where if I'm an undrafted rookie or just someone who wants an opportunity, not only just to compete and win, but an opportunity to really prove myself, Baltimore be at the top of my list because of their track record. It's not just like, oh, I want to see if they can help or, I want to see if they can do this for me. It's like the track record's right in front of you. So drafting Lamar, obviously making that decision and building your team around him was the main reason of why Baltimore is in this position right now. But it's being able to stop Kyle Hamilton's slide. It's trading for Roquan Smith and giving up a 2nd-round pick there. It's continuing to fill in along the cracks and making sure that you can build the best roster possible. And again, this is just, I don't even know the word. It's incredible, I guess is the word I'll keep using. It's incredible how much this roster is transformed over the last couple of seasons. And while they didn't have a ton of turnover, as I mentioned earlier in the show, you still were able to like add those Alexanders and Hopkins and Malachi Starks and Mike Green to a team that their biggest free agent losses were Patrick McCary and Brandon Stevens, and the biggest loss, in my opinion, of the offseason was Michael Pierce to retirement. That's just upgrades. It's upgrades. And so for a team that lost in the divisional rounds, been hoping to get to the postseason. Well, not get to it, but hoping to, again, increase their success in the postseason, get further along in the dance. I think Baltimore did practically almost everything they could. Maybe not everything, but pretty much almost everything to get to a place where they can say, hey, we did all we could. So that's all I have for you here today on Locked On Ravens. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Of course, we'll be back here later on the squad show tonight, 7:30. Myself, Sam Njoku, and former Ravens receiver Kadri Ismail. And then we'll also have another Locked On Ravens episode for you tomorrow, as we always do on the weekdays. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in video form and follow along and subscribe in audio form on the way out. I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.